Only one of our local teams are still in the playoffs. Sumter County faces off with number 1 seed Carver-Atlanta in the GHSA Quarterfinals. How do these two teams match up? We'll discuss that next on the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, sports administrators, and sports personalities. Thanks for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Now here's your host, Tim Estes.
Welcome into the Thanksgiving edition of the Integrity Sports Podcast. We hope all of you had a happy Thanksgiving today. I'm Tim Estes. I'll be your host. I'm joined tonight by Scott Westbrook. Scott, hope you've had a good Thanksgiving.
I have been traveling today.
Scott, we want to start out today by thanking our premier sponsor. That is Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have any tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal has you covered. Give Keith a call at 229-314-2048 or at 229-938-2412. From day one, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal has been our premier sponsor. Scott, going to start by talking about Sly and Southland just briefly. Sly County was still in the playoffs last week. They were eliminated by Jenkins County by a score of 41-20. That ends the Wildcat season with a record of 7-5. But I got to thinking about all those guys that were seniors on this team, Scott, and the 4 years that they had there at Sly County. Those first two were incredible. Their last two, their junior and senior year, better than average. So a good career for those seniors.
It really was, and the whole team in general and coaching staff, and I'm happy to eat a little bit of crow on this because I did not think they were going to win the region and didn't really have a chance to win the region with the team that Taylor had this year, and it looked like Macon County was going to come on strong towards the end of the season, but for Coach Alford and the entire staff and the players, the seniors, the leaders on that team, this is really a season that needs to be earmarked because they, the first 2 years of their high school career, Sly County was expected to win the region in those years, and expected to do go a lot, deep in the playoffs and everything. But when you win region when you're not expected to, that's something to really be proud of, and that's a heck of an accomplishment.
Coach Darren Alford, you mentioned he always does a great job of preparation. Scott, what he's known for, and I'm a believer in this because I've seen it over the years, from about middle school, he gets these guys in the weight room. Mm-hmm. He teaches them the lingo of what they need to know. If they're an offensive lineman, they know how they number the holes and what the plays are. So he does a good job of refilling the cabinet.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And get that mindset of what he expects from them early on. And that's something that's very important to where when they come to high school, it's not a shock to them. It's not a tough transition. And it's a real easy segue from middle school to high school and be ready to just blend right in with the rest of the guys.
So Sly County now will jump to basketball season. They will open up, both boys and girls, open up on December the 2nd. They'll host Brookstone out of Columbus, saying that Brookstone won't have much time. They just played in a state football championship in the GIAA. Mm-hmm. So both of those teams quickly jumping from football right into basketball. Mm-hmm. Our show today is brought to you by Custom Auto Sales, located at 907 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Americus. Their owners, Lance and Jessica Stick, have been fixing your ride for more than 25 years. Now they want to help you buy one. They've got new credit, added major banks, better financing for any credit situation. You can reach Custom Auto Sales at 924 5558, or you can check them out online at customperformanceauto.com. Take it from me, they've got some nice rides down there. We don't have a lot of used car dealers left here in Sumter County. Lance and Jessica Stick doing a great job. Thanks to Custom Auto Sales for sponsoring this segment of the Integrity Sports Podcast. Scott, that'll jump us to let's start with Southland Academy just a little bit. We talked about them getting eliminated last week. They're off to a big-time start in basketball. They're 2-0, had an opening round win against Crisp Academy, and then a big win this past week against First Presbyterian out of Macon. So Southland looks like they've got a pretty good crop of athletes right now.
Oh, definitely. They can. And when you start winning in one sport, sometimes it blends over into another, and that's I'm sure what they're hoping to see over there at Southland is a lot of the success that they had in the football season will blend over and bleed over into the other sports.
So go out and see Coach Kevin Douglas and the men's Raider basketball team, or Coach Peterson and the women. Both of those teams doing really well and expected to have a good season. Scott, that gets us to Sumter County. They're the talk of the town right now. Sumter County had another big win Friday night. They're now 11-1. They had an opening round win against Kip Collegiate 42-7. And then this past Friday night defeated the Mountaineers of North Murray by a score of 28-11. And that will advance them to the quarterfinals.
You know, the North Murray team, we didn't know a lot about them, but I was researching them, for the podcast and then on into for the game. And there was a lot of chest thumping and coming on from up there, coming from Chatsworth and from their pep rallies and all that kind of stuff that several of the parents and players from Sumter County shared in social media. They were completely confident that they were going to, just mop the floor with Sumter County. They didn't think that it was going to be that much of a hurdle. So, Sumter County beat a team that firmly believed that they could beat them. So that when you do that, that bodes well for the future and keeping the momentum that they have right now.
Here's what I liked, Scott. We talked last week on our podcast about Hudson Hewlett, the quarterback for North Murray. He was the leading rusher in all classifications in GHSA, came into the game averaging 176 yards per game on the ground as a quarterback. Sumter County held him to under 100 yards, and that's impressive in itself. But when you look at where did he get those 100 yards? The very first drive, he had 39 yards on that drive. So impressive. They went right down, scored a touchdown. He was a big part of that. 39 of his, I think, 81 total yards came on that drive. Another 29 came on a 29-yard touchdown run late in the fourth quarter after Coach Rogers had kind of emptied the bench. So between the first drive and the next to last drive of the game, Sumter County shut him down.
Well, and I was listening to the game, and that first drive concerned me a little because, we talked about the defense and how they were going to really have to stiffen up and shut him down. But like you said, it wasn't exactly a cakewalk, but it wasn't much different for that first scoring drive for North Murray. But after that, they figured out what they needed to do to stop him and hem him up and make sure they didn't have any more success the rest of the game.
And Scott, we've bragged on this defense all year. They've no doubt been the strength of the Panther team. They proved this time they could do it on a big stage.
Against a guy who's had unbelievably proven success. So, each game has been a different test for them. Excuse me. And this week's not going to be any different.
Exactly. That gets us into the Panthers. They're 11-1. They advance to the Elite Eight of Class AA. Now they have to take on Carver-Atlanta, who comes into the game 12-0. And while they're not ranked number one in the last rankings that came out, they are seeded number one in the GHSA playoffs, and it's going to be a tough task.
Well, they're picked to win. I mean, Sumter County's going in that game as an underdog. Yeah. They're having to go up there and play at Lakewood, which is a big stadium. It's a huge stadium. They play a lot of big high school games, and other smaller college games up there at that stadium. So it's going to be, once again, like you said, a big stage for Sumter County.
So I know a lot of our viewers each week look forward to what can you expect from this opponent. Well, as we dug into Carver-Atlanta, their quarterback, Corey Fletcher, he completes 64% of his passes, averages 144 yards per game passing. I don't know if that's the best quarterback they've played all year, but certainly good numbers there, Scott.
He's very accurate and obviously has some receivers that can catch the ball. And so our defensive line and linebackers and all that, they were tested this past week. Our DBs better be ready for a test this week.
That's right. The leading receiver is Terrius Favors. So quarterback Corey Fletcher's averaging 144 yards. 95 of those 144 per game go to Terrius Favors. So the DBs need to pay attention to the Favors kid. Their leading rusher is Latea Steps averaging 112 yards per game on the ground. But here's what really got me, Scott. While Steps, their leading rusher at 112, Favors, the guy that we just talked about as being their leading receiver, is their second leading rusher, and he's averaging 90 yards per game on the ground. So it sounds to me like they do a lot of jet sweep motion type stuff.
That's what I was about to say. I bet he gets a lot of those yards off jet sweeps, and they're going to use every inch of that field. It sounds like with Sumter County, that they're going to spread it out, and he's 64% for a high school quarterback is pretty doggone good.
And they're not just quality on offense. When you look at their defense, they've played 12 games. They have caused 29 fumbles in those 12 games. They've recovered 11 of those. So almost averaging one fumble recovery per game. They've also intercepted 11 passes this season in 12 games. So it sounds like they're really good up front, causing the fumble, maybe at the linebacker spot, but they're also pretty good on the backside intercepting the football.
Tim, that doesn't happen on accident. When you see a team that really is winning the turnover battle, they're coached to do that, and they you and I both know they're practicing that every single day. And when you've got that many interceptions, and if the first guy's got the guy, the runner or the receiver wrapped up, when the cavalry comes in, they are knocking that ball out. So our guys have really got to clinch that ball tight, especially if they're fighting for additional yards, because that's usually when it happens.
And the guy we need to pay attention to when we're on offense is number 10. He's their inside middle linebacker. Number 10, his name is Javante Holt. He's got 90 tackles in 12 games, individual tackles. So a kid we certainly need to pay attention to.
I don't think you're going to intimidate him.
On offense, what does Sumter County need to do? Well, the first thing, obviously, if Carver-Atlanta is averaging one fumble recovery and one interception per game, Sumter County needs to hang on to the football. No turnovers. Going to be crucial for Sumter County this week. Carver averages 40 points. That's very similar to Sumter County. Sumter County is averaging 43 points per game and only giving up 6.5 points per game. So it sounds like the two teams are really, really well matched up.
Yeah, I had some technical difficulties. I couldn't hear everything you said just then, Tim. But yeah, this is going to be a game where Sumter County is going to have to play mistake-free football because this team they're playing obviously looks to get their offense back on the field as quickly as possible by creating turnovers. So I'm hoping that Sumter County goes in there and builds on the momentum or continues to feed off the momentum that they've got towards the end of the season and on into the playoffs. And so playing mistake-free football will put them in the position they want to by the end of the game.
And Scott, one of the things you and I also look at every week is teams that play quality opponents. And we look at Carver-Atlanta. They've had a few. They started out with Southwest DeKalb, who finished the year 7-4, I think was their final record. Southwest DeKalb, Carver beat them 12-7. They beat Hapeville Charter, and we know Hapeville Charter from their day here at Lee County. They beat Hapeville 14-7. They had a close one with Holy Innocent, who has been a really good football program for many years. It was 26-22. And then, of course, in the playoffs, they played Pierce County. I think Pierce is down a little bit this year. They played a lot of soft teams up front and built their schedule, but we know Crisp upset them toward the end, and then Appling got them in the regular season and took the region championship. But they beat Pierce County 48-28. The only common opponent between the two was Kip Collegiate. That was Sumter's first round playoff opponent. And of course, Sumter beat them 42-7. During the regular season, Carver beat Kip 35-14. Again, very similar. I can't really find anything that goes, yeah, Sumter ought to beat these guys.
Well, and, you talk about they played Hapeville Charter. Hapeville Charter is still alive in the playoffs also,
That's right.
So, they've played some, when you say quality opponents, they've played, teams that are still kicking. And, that right there, if they're still around at this level, they're pretty good football teams.
Scott, we're going to wait till the end of the show to give our predictions, but do want to thank our friends over at Carter's Fried Chicken for being our sponsor this week. They're located at 206 Tripp Street in Americus. Owner Mike Shadows and his staff have been feeding Southwest Georgia for more than 30 years. They offer daily lunch specials featuring baked or fried chicken. They also have the best desserts in town, and they do it all at an affordable price. Carter's Fried Chicken supports all of our local area teams, so no matter who you pull for, go in and see Mike and his staff and get some of the best chicken in Southwest Georgia. Thanks again to Carter's Fried Chicken for sponsoring this segment of the Integrity Sports Podcast. Scott, let's just go through the different classifications and talk about the teams that are from Southwest Georgia. Our Integrity Sports Podcast mainly focuses on Southwest Georgia. In AD2, you still have Early County in the mix. Early County's got to play Screven County this week. What do you think about that one?
I think, they've got Screven County favored to win that game. I know a little bit more about Screven County than I probably should, just because that's where Michelle went to high school. And her daddy coached there for many, many, many years. But and I have some friends there, and I see them posting things regularly. Screven County is a good team this year. They've got a lot of confidence. They're playing with a lot of enthusiasm, and they also, like I said, even though they're traveling all the way across the state to Early County, they're favored to win this game. And it would not surprise me at all if they beat Early County. Early County's strong. They've been strong past few years. Sly's had to pay them a few times in some pretty close, heated games, and some that they've lost in the past few years. But I think Screven County may edge this one out.
Scott, we've talked about how the seniors at Sumter County all had great rec careers, winning state 3 different times. That last time they won state, they also had Screven County playing for the Class C state championship. I can't remember if they won it or not, but they were in it. So Those guys have been playing together for a long time. Moving up to AD1, we've got Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald will take on Heard County. We've also got Worth County still in it in AD1, and Worth County is going to take on Gordon Lee. What do you think about those?
I'm just going to say I'm surprised Gordon Lee's still around at this point. They must have had a very favorable bracket because Worth County's picked to beat them by 24 points. And usually when you see a spread like that this late in the playoffs, there's something's just not exactly jihad. Now, Worth County has had a tremendous season. We both know that. We both know how strong and how they've played some formidable opponents and beat them. But I think that Worth County is going to dog walk Gordon Lee in this game.
I think you're right. What do you think about the other one?
The Fitzgerald Heard County.
Fitzgerald and Heard.
Heard, they're playing at Heard County. Heard County has got tremendous facilities. It's
They
beautiful.
do.
It's over there in Franklin, and when I don't know enough about the teams, and you look at the how they've got it. Just Fitzgerald is a 1-point favorite. That's pretty strong considering they've got to go to Heard County and play. I would have to go with the home team with one that's that close.
I'm going to have to pull with my good buddy Keith Morris and Fitzgerald on this one, hoping the Purple Hurricanes can keep it going. All right, Scott, Class AA. That's our two teams that we hope will match up in the state championship game. We'll talk about Sumter a little later, but the other one is Carver of Columbus. And Carver of Columbus's opponent is Thompson.
And Thompson is just, that's one of those over there in East Georgia. That's one of the powerhouses that's been around for a long time. They hadn't had as much success the past decade or two that they had back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. But they have won a state championship in the past 20 years, I think. I'm just trying to go by memory. But but Carver Columbus is a 24-point favorite. And, like I said, when you see a spread like that, this late in the season, something's not adding up. And so, Thompson could have had a favorable bracket, or Carver could be just that good, according to, what the computers and the people that massage those numbers seem to think. So, obviously got to go with Carver on that one.
I got a good buddy over there by the name of Trevor Welcher. He's the Parks and Recreation Director there in where Thompson is. And I would love to be able to pull for him, but I have seen Carver firsthand, and Carver Columbus is legit. Mm-hmm. And they're the defending state champions. And until somebody knocks them off, I got to go with them because they are really strong. Scott, in AAA, Cairo, the syrup makers are still in it. And syrup makers will play Jefferson, the Dragons of Jefferson. So I know that's going to be a tough matchup.
Cairo is one of just the absolute greatest high school mascots in the country, and I always, for no other reason other than, I got a lot of friends down there, but the fact that they're just bold enough to have a mascot like that and to own it makes you want to pull for them. So, but now Jefferson has had some success the past few years, continues to have a lot of success. And they're an 11-point favorite in that game, and they're playing in Jefferson. So I've got to go with Jefferson in that one.
Yeah, I think you're right. Jefferson has certainly proven themselves this year. Cairo's had a great season as well, but being at Jefferson, I'm going to go with Jefferson as well. There's no Southwest Georgia teams in the Class 4A bracket, but we moved to Class 5A, and boy, Thomas County Central, the Yellow Jackets, they have had a phenomenal season, and I'm expecting that to continue this Friday.
Oh, definitely. They've got so much talent, so much. It's going to be playing college ball, but the thing about it is that they believe they can win, they want to win, and they go out there and they don't believe there's anybody in the state that can beat them. You can see their fans on a lot of the message boards or the Facebook groups, and there's no wavering at all. I think they think they could line up against the Falcons and beat them, and probably they could, really, to be honest with you.
Well, so are you going to go with Thomas County Central in this one as well?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Scott, here's one. I started looking at these, and I didn't even realize Valdosta had this season that they've had. But in 6A, Valdosta takes on Walton, and Georgia High School Football Daily's got Valdosta as a 20-point favorite.
I'm glad. The superintendent down in Valdosta is a good friend of mine, Craig Lockhart, and he has just done a phenomenal job getting that whole school system back on track from where they've always been known throughout the country as Wintersville and all, but he's made that a priority to get them back to that point, and you're seeing the success from that. They're like I said, a 20-point favorite. They're playing in Valdosta. Walton, one of those Cobb County schools that is always in the playoffs, whether it be baseball, football, basketball. They're a team that's there every single sport and seems to hang around late. But they got to travel. They got to travel all the way to the south part of the state, and Valdosta is looking to try to get to that 1,000th game. I think they're trying to get that 1,000 victories, and so they're each Friday night they want to get a little bit closer to that. So I think, in addition to the great season they had and the athletes they had, and the Walton having to travel so much, and the 20-point favorite, I gotta agree with that with the Georgia Daily Sports.
I sure hope so. We're going to pull for Valdosta. Our show tonight is also brought to you in part by Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance, located at 925 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Americus. Go by and see Marty, Mary Lynn, or any of their staff, and let them discuss your insurance needs with you. They can even do the famous discount double check to ensure you're receiving all of the savings available to you. You can give Marty a call at 928-3686, or you can look them up on Facebook. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Scott, before we get to our prediction time, I want to kind of go off script, and we'll talk about what we know so far, but most high school football fans in the state of Georgia are aware of what's going on with Gainesville High School. So Gainesville was involved in a brawl that, from all indications, they did not instigate last week against Brunswick, but they did participate in. And looks like 39 kids were originally suspended. In other words, Georgia High School said these 39 cannot play this coming Friday. Of course, Gainesville appealed that, and Georgia High School gave them 5 of their players back. So they got 34 of the 39 were still going to be suspended. So it's my understanding, Scott, that Gainesville filed an injunction through the courts, and saw right before we came on today that the courts, or Georgia High School rather, has suspended that game. So Gainesville and Langston Hughes, that was due to play on Friday, has been suspended. I'm not sure when that would be played, what the scenario is from here. What about you?
You know, they got it, and of course, obviously got it in front of a Hall County judge. And so, surprise, surprise, he sided with Gainesville. But if you read the breakdown, Gainesville made some excellent points. And it's the problem when you sit there and you take such a hard line. And I think eventually they're going to have to figure out a way to be a little bit more flexible. When the GHSA has said, if you come off site, you're ejected no matter what, and it appears to be a easy solution, but in reality, it complicates things. And that's what happened here, because they took that hard line on that, but the people in the school boards, lawyers for Gainesville and all pointed out they weren't so hard line with their other policies. Like, for instance, they said that, you can't eject. I mean, they couldn't, if the umpire had not, or referees had not ejected them, they couldn't somehow retroactively go back there and kick them out,
Right. And the other thing, Scott, they have a bylaw that says they cannot go back and review that by videotape.
Right.
The officials on the field have to either eject them and write down the number, or even if they didn't get ejected, but they see them coming off the sideline, they have to write down the number. Anybody that's number is written down is suspended, but they cannot go back and review. And it's my understanding they actually did go back and review, so they kind of went against their own bylaw.
Well, and I think that Gainesville turned in all the numbers to those. They turned it into them. And so once they turned it into GHSA, they really probably had no other choice to say, okay, these are the ones you said. Our rule says this, so therefore they're all out of the game for the next go around. And Gainesville was hoping for some sort of mercy, because they said, hey, we're gonna do the right thing, we're gonna turn it in. Well, then they got an injunction, they got a judge, and the judge agreed with Gainesville so these kids can play. Well, not more than an hour or two later, before we got on the air and you and I were talking about it, GHSA is tired of taking it in the chin on all these court losses. They've now appealed and said, okay, we're going to delay the game. Well, in that classification, they may not even get to play in the Dome if they have to start pushing these games back. I mean, we may see all the classifications at one, except one in the Georgia, the Mercedes-Benz Dome, and then who knows where they're going to have to play the state championship game for that classification for I think it's 6A that Gainesville and Langston Hughes is in. And I looked at when you and I were getting ready for the show, I looked at Langston Hughes. No, I'm sorry, it's 5A. Hughes is favored over Gainesville by 12 points. And I'm wondering if they figured in that 12-point difference from the players not being able to play in the game, or how the computers figured that. If they said, okay, if they massage that figure a little bit, because I think Gainesville has pretty much been picked just to steamroll everybody with the team they have. So I don't see how. I mean, if they took into consideration the fact that Gainesville would not have those players, I would say that Langston Hughes would probably beat them by 80 if they wanted to. It would be a lot more than just 12 points. But at full strength, I would have to go with Gainesville over Langston Hughes.
Well, that gets us to prediction time for Sumter County, Scott. They'll travel just a couple of hours up the road to Lakewood Stadium to take on the number 1 seed, Carver-Atlanta. Sumter comes in 11-1 with their only loss being an 8-7 rain-filled loss to Carver of Columbus, who at the time was ranked number 1 in the state. Now they'll take on Carver-Atlanta, who's the number 1 seed and 12-0. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Sumter County. I'm going to go with them. I can't not go with them. And I know that's a double negative, but I just can't turn my back on them at this point, just simply because Coach Will Rogers has had the team ready had them to step up. That game that they lost to Carver Columbus was a fluke. It was just some really weird plays that caused that 1-point loss in addition to the weather. So they haven't showed me that, even though these other teams are may look bulletproof and may look like they've got all the intangibles of beating Sumter County. Sumter County has got that one thing, is discipline. And I don't know if these other kids or these other teams have that, because late in the game, if it's a close game, and that discipline will pay off.
Scott, I'm too going to go with Sumter County, and here's why. They say defense wins championships. Well, you look at Carver's numbers, they're very impressive offensively, but I give the nod to Sumter County on the defensive side. You and I have talked many, many a times this year about the linebacking core for Sumter County. You got Mentor at one side, you got Kearse in the middle, and Kendall Thomas. That's 3 of the best linebackers in any classification in the state. And it's going to take all 3 of those guys to stop this offense of Carver-Atlanta. I think they get it done.
Well, the DBs are going to have to step up too. And then the defensive line is going to have to cause the quarterback to rush his throws. It's going to have to be all 11 guys on defense every single play, whether it's the jet sweep we were talking about earlier, or he drops back to pass, or it's a draw play, or it's a screen. Everybody's got to be firing on all cylinders on defense tomorrow night. And of course, they had a pretty good test last week by facing the number 1 rusher in the state. And he got his first drive. It looked like it was going to be in their favor, but then Coach Will Rogers and coaches and the players decided that they weren't just going to let him do what he wanted to, made some adjustments, I'm assuming, and changed the outcome of the game.
Scott, I hope next week that you and I are talking about a semifinal game for the Sumter County Panthers. If not, let's plan to do a wrap-up show of football. But right now, Scott and myself are pulling for the Panthers. We want to see them get to the semifinals and then eventually to the finals. If they win, I think they're going to end up playing Morgan County, who's the team that eliminated them last year. Hopefully, they can get past Carver-Atlanta, and then they can get past Morgan County and kind of get a little revenge, and that would set up what we've all hoped for, that revenge match with Carver of Columbus.
Hey, man, that would be, we just got to do it one game at a time. But, there's only a few teams left, and it's easy to kind of keep up with who's playing who and following up on stuff, because the first round, man, it is tough to figure out who's going to still be hanging around at this level. But when you've only got 4 games in each classification, it's a lot easier on me and you to follow and see what's going on.
Scott, enjoyed it tonight. Let's get back together next week and figure out what we're going to do. We want to thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Again, go on to our YouTube page and smash the subscribe button. Whatever platform you're watching on today, please hit the like and share button. We'd like to once again thank our sponsors, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal, Carter's Fried Chicken, Custom Auto Sales, and Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance. Everybody is supporting the Panthers this week. Go Sumter County. Thank you for watching. For my friend Scott Westbrook, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.